book, which is great, you say that I think you were probably 8 or 10 when you decided that you wanted to live a musical life, be a musician full time, or some kind of, I don't know whether you would have called it a rock star or pop star in those days. And you told your mum was Colombian, your father was English, and quite a high up executive in BOAC, and you grew up in Cuba. So it's perhaps not surprising that you had a kind of musical vibe around you, but your mum wasn't too keen.
Well, no, that's okay. We're compressing a lot there. Yeah, I was. I never thought about being a pop star or being in the rock and roll business. It didn't really exist in 1957 in Havana, and it was all about salsa and cumbia and the kind of music that later became popular with the Buena Vista Social Club. All those guys were at the height of their their careers at these big clubs like the Tropicana Club and the Sanssouci Club, with lots of feathered dancer ladies. And as a young child, I was taken along and sit at a table and fall asleep there where all this incredible music was going on. I don't know, maybe they hadn't invented babysitters back then, but I seem to have gone to these places, which you can see great representations of this in, for instance, The Godfather Part 2, which has a great scene set in the Tropicana Club where all the mobsters meet and everything. And they probably were mobsters there when I was there. But no, I mean, I grew up, after the revolution, I had to leave Cuba. We had to leave Cuba 6 months after the revolution, went to Hawaii, went then to Venezuela. And it was there when I was at the British school in Venezuela that me and my friends were more aware about pop and rock music. It wasn't called rock music then. When American college kids came over to play at dances, and they played Buddy Holly and maybe some Elvis stuff. And then I started listening on the World Service to the UK, and sort of became obsessed by pop music, and begged my parents to send me to England, to a boarding school in South London, age 9. So I arrived in September 1960. Having said that, my brother was already a boarder there. He was 8 years older than me. So it wasn't as if I was, allowed to go there on my own. But yeah, I mean, then eventually when my father died, when I was 15, he died in Venezuela. By that stage, we're talking about 1966, and everything had happened in the UK. The Beatles, the Stones, the Kinks, the Who, Jimi Hendrix had arrived, Cream. It was the height of the beginning of early Pink Floyd and Soft Machine. And I was in England, even though I'd been going backwards and forwards to South America, by that stage, I was plumped in England. And then I said to my mother, yeah, I'll stay on and do my exams, but I really want to be a professional musician. And so she, being a lovely, sweet lady from Barranquilla, Colombia, said, well, what's that? I know cumbia and I know salsa, but what's this rock music, And my brother said, well, look, we'll go and talk to a guy, ask him what you have to do to become a professional musician. So I just 16, about to go to 17. And he said, I know this guy from Cambridge, because my brother was at Cambridge. Let's go and ask him what you have to do. And that person was David Gilmour, and he just joined Pink Floyd.
Unbelievable.
So we had lunch, and he says he can't remember what he said, but it must have been brilliant, because 5 years later, I managed to join Roxy Music.
Well, let's talk about that, because one of the great bits in the book is there were lots of amazing pictures all the way through, actually, Phil. I mean, it's an incredible scrapbook, a lot more pictures than most biographies. It must have been a huge amount of work to get all these bits and bobs together? Because you
Tom, I'm just interrupting as in producer mode, because Phil, you've gone very dark. I think the rain cloud that passed by us.
Okay, yes, you're
in your
right.
direction. And I think it's such a pity not to be able to see your face.
Oh,
The other thing you could do is turn the brightness up on your screen. That would potentially shed light on your actual face.
well, how about that? I mean, I am a bit tanned.
Well,
It does make me look more tanned, but
that's better.
brightness,
That's
okay.
certainly better. Yeah, and that's even better. Thank you.
Better?
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. Keep going. That's lovely.
Yeah, that's great.
I was looking at myself, wondering why I've got super tanned, and I've been in the sun there's only been a couple of days of sun in the last.
When we had our tech check, it was quite bright, but Victoria's right. There must have been a cloud over Sussex where you are.
You're absolutely right. It's tipping down with rain now. What can we do with it?
Oh, not like Cuba. Anyway, so I want to mention, the book's, by the way, Idle, is full of these photos going right back, like a wonderful photo album.
Yes, well, obviously, by having there's over 120 pictures, it means I didn't have to write so much. Obviously, I'm a musician, not a writer. So, but there is, as I discuss in the book, we had my father, who potentially, we think worked for MI6. We had cameras, we had Super 8, we had big radios, we had little cameras, so there was a lot of documenting. So I have pictures of me in Havana, me in the garden dressed up as Zorro, me with a Fidelista, with 303 machine guns and all sorts. I've got everything you can name. But yeah, so it was, it was recorded, and I sort of continued that throughout the whole of my career, because to a certain extent, I was a person who recorded and photographed a lot of Roxy stuff during that period, including a picture of Brian Eno after the very last gig he played, which when I delivered the book to him about a month ago, I thought, he's going to laugh because he's never seen that picture before. It's him waving goodbye.
Oh, yeah, that's a sweet picture in the field.
Yes, in a field.
Yeah.
In Newcastle somewhere, after his very last concert with us.
Come back to it, because he sounds, I mean, from what you're saying, he's very sort of gregarious, fun, sort of cheerful person.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're all, give him a few drinks, they're all very funny, Brian, very terrific company once he's had a few drinks,
Well, let's go back to the ad, because I love the language that, and I wonder who wrote it. It was Brian Ferry, probably wrote it on his own. And this is the ad that you saw, Phil, in Melody in the late 60s, I think. Wanted the perfect guitarist for Avant Rock Group, in capital letters, Avant-Rock Group. Original, creative, adaptable, melodic, fast, slow, elegant, witty, scary, stable, tricky. Quality musicians only. So you thought, well, I fit the bill here. I'm fast and slow, elegant, witty, scary, stable, tricky.
Actually, funny enough, I hadn't looked at it for ages, and when I was doing the book, I photographed it, and it says for Avant Rock Group, and I thought, hang on, we need to get back to that. So a couple of months ago, me and Andy did a few gigs as an Avant Rock Group in Soho, and
underground happenings.
Yeah, and so I think this is the beginning of a new phase. We're back to our original mission statement of also with Paul Thompson on drums from Roxy. No Brian, but and obviously Eno's off doing something else, as he always is. But the spirit of that is back. Yes.